Welcome to the Spa Girls podcast, the self-publishing podcast for authors. You're in the right place for the best writing, marketing, and publishing advice, plus interviews with industry experts and best-selling authors. I'm Cheryl Phipps.
I'm Shah Barrett.
I'm Wendy Valla.
And I'm Trudy J. And today we have the lovely Anya Mora with us to talk about
Whoa,
mindset and life's challenges, shall we say.
Yeah, working through them. Hey, Anya.
Hey,
Hi,
you.
welcome.
So, Anya, I'm going to give you a bio first of all, and then we're going to get right into the topic. So here we go. USA Today best-selling author Anya Mora writes domestic suspense and psychological thrillers, as well as an extensive romance catalogue under the pen name Frankie Love. She's also the host of I Am the Miracle podcast on manifestation, creativity, and living life out loud. Anya lives a ferry ride away from Seattle, Washington, with her family. Her novels, while leaning towards the dark, ultimately reflect light, courage, and her innate belief that love rewards the brave. That sounds amazing. I love it. Love rewards the brave is an awesome line.
it's very cool.
So Anya, let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about how you got into writing and self-publishing. What was your origin story, as it were?
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a fun one. I had been you just having my kids, everyone was little. I have 6 children and was looking for a way to kind of process some of the challenges that were a part of that. I adopted 3 of my children, older child adoption, and I was looking for children's books that would help them with their feelings and kind of help them process some changes. And I couldn't find anything I liked. So I thought, well, I will write these books. And I was very proud of them. And I took them to a writing conference and I met with an agent and she told me, this is great, but it would never sell. You need to write a character. These were like much more nonfiction based children's books. And I thought, oh, I've never even considered writing that in that format. And I started writing young adult fiction. I decided to write my first book was this story. I kind of wished the children I brought home that their birth mom could have read when she was younger. And so it was a story that meant a lot. It's called This Too Is Love. And I wrote a bunch of YA for like a dozen novels. I had an agent trying really hard to get the traditionally published was all I was thinking. This is like 2010, 2012 kind of years. And I met with a writing group in town. 3 of us were meeting every week. And one week, one of the writers, GL Snodgrass, he writes Regency Romance now. He came to the group and he's like, well, you guys, I have had a secret. I made $700 last month on KDP. And we're like, what are you talking about? What is this? This is like 2014. And we were like, you made $700? Like it was mind-blowing money. And the 3 of us began self-publishing and I failed miserably at my first attempt. And I'd say fail, like obviously we learn from what our mistakes are, but I released those 12 young adult novels that I could never get traditionally published and never didn't know how to make any traction. This is 2014, kind of before we started to know a lot and how to like work as a business person. I was just focused as the writer.
Yeah.
But having that in-person writing group where all 3 of us were committed to like really learning self-publishing was the most and I still meet with these writers and we're all full-time writers now. So it's incredible.
That's cool. I love that.
Yeah, it's amazing that, I just Googled like writers and local writers, 12 years ago. And I met these people at a meetup and now they're dearest people to me and quit their teaching job and their, his engineer job. And we all have been able to write. So it's a really cool story because if Gary hadn't felt that like bravery to like take that first leap,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I would still be querying agents and like, I don't know, like desperately wanting someone to give me the time of day. So
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool. What a great
That's awesome.
story.
Yeah, and then you must have moved on to publishing
Sure. After I finished my first year, I had released these young adult novels. I think I was, $300 negative, and I was, making my own covers. All of it was very in a beginner, like it was pretty rough. Some, not being able to pay for an editor and just those very beginning steps. And I had met online in a forum. Someone said, "Hey, your young adult stuff has a lot of romance in it. Maybe try high heat romance. I'm having a lot of luck with that." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I'd never read that and didn't really think of it, didn't know that genre and wasn't familiar with it, but I just dove in like, okay, I'll learn everything I can and I got to make this work because I really need it." I was like, I either have to, my youngest was in kindergarten. I was like, I either need to go get a job or I need to try to make my writing work. And watching my writing friend Gary start really having real success, I was like, oh man, like if he can do it, I think I can do this. And so I started reading these books, and this is back before mountain men were such a big thing, and I was starting to read all these bear shifters, and I was like, this is cool because I live in the Pacific Northwest and it's like mountainous bearded guys, and I was like, I kind of like this hero.
There's a lot of bear
but
shifters in those forests up there, so that's where they
yeah, and I
come
was like,
from, right?
yeah, I was like, I'll make them the bear shifter, but just have him be a mountain man. And so I took a leap. I said, I will write a series of mountain men romance and a series of bad boy, like that was popular. Like this is 2015, and we'll see what it takes. And so I feel very fortunate that the mountain men kind of got an audience.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Love it.
And were they shorter novels or full length? Can I?
At first I was releasing every week 15,000 word serial
Every
episode.
week?
For
Oh, wow.
the first 6 months I did it. I was every week I will release a part. And then after I had like 6 parts, I was like, well, I'll release this as a novel. That was my first book, Timber by Frankie Love. And when it became the novel, I was like, immediately, I was like, oh, there's something here. Like I can keep writing in this world. And I do think I just was so sure. Like I was like, when you're in life and you're up against a wall and you're like, this has to work. I was like, I had some financial things I really needed to make happen. I was like, I don't know how I have to make $1,500 a month to make my family work. And I was just, it's all I could visualize, like that it was working. There was no doubt. I was sure that I could do it. And I do think that is the reason I got lucky, is because I really imagined it being real.
Self-belief was
Yeah.
huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
great.
That's awesome. And I don't know how you did all that with 6 kids, just saying.
No.
Yeah.
I have
They were in
one.
school.
And sometimes I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. So that actually brings us quite nicely onto our actual main topic here, is the mindset aspect of what we do as authors. And I just want you to, first of all, to kind of maybe talk about what's your belief system, or when you say mindset, what do you mean, and how does that work for you?
Well, kind of what I was just saying about how sure I was that I could make the Frankie brand work. It's about, for me, it's really imagining the life and the experiences and the joys, the way I want my life to unfold, and really spending a lot of time like feeling it until it's a real thing. And a few years ago, I got really into these like 19th century mystic, this guy, Neville Goddard, and he wrote these books about feeling is the secret, and just really embodying the way we want to feel. And once you have that feeling, you almost can release so much, because you no longer are chasing that title or that, trophy, because you already have it. It's inside of you. It's something you're holding that feeling, and that's enough. So it's allowed me to feel a lot more free creatively, because it's no longer about something I am trying to reach. It's knowing that I already am what I want.
Yeah.
It's a real mind shift transition, isn't it? Going from that negative, not believing, striving, to belief that you've already got it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's that whole idea. I think Heather Hildenbrand talks about it. It's like we're in this goal-centric kind of environment, or so we were taught that there's this thing up here that we want, and we're constantly striving. And what you're kind of saying is that actually you know that you're enough in the here and now, and that's the start of getting what you want. Does that make sense? Am I?
Yeah, I think so, because we become so attached to this idea of what we're chasing. And when you decide that, you know what, I already have, like what I'm feeling inside is enough, and who I am is enough, and how I'm showing up in the world is enough. It's no longer about this external force. You have it.
Mm.
And we all are enough just as we are. Like, we already have the answers inside of us. And if we can tap into that more and more, it's really freeing.
Yeah,
It's
that's
shutting
really,
out the noise too, isn't it? There's so much noise out there now to, to
It
make,
is.
to slip into your head and make you doubt.
Yes, although I have been working very hard on making my TikTok algorithm very affirmations and mindset focused. So I feel like when I open TikTok now, I'm like, oh, this is a happy place.
Wow, you've
But
done good.
I'm probably
Okay.
working too hard to make that algorithm
Yeah.
on my phone a bit too much.
Yeah.
That's funny. And because the other thing that's quite interesting is what you just said is that you already are enough and you already know what you need to know to succeed. I feel like I'm maybe paraphrasing you a little bit. Can you talk about that? Like how do we kind of, because I think there's this really big temptation for all of us in the self-publishing is to do another course. And maybe I haven't succeeded yet because I just don't know that secret thing that everyone else seems to know, but I don't know. Or like what, yeah. So how do we kind of move on from that and just know that we are enough?
I would say it starts with really trusting our instincts. We all have like such amazing creative minds, right? And we're like coming up with stories all the time. We're made for that as people. We're made to be creative. And I know with my writing, when it has hit the best with readers, it's when it is coming from a flow state, coming from like, it's not overthinking and it's not listening and watching what everyone else's series are and what covers are looking like. With that first Frankie series, Timber with the Mountain Man's Babies, it was just it was pure joy. It was like, what brings me, what lights me up? What is making me creatively inspired and happy? And letting that be the whole picture, right? It's not about what anybody else was doing. It's like, if we're coming to our writing from a place of like pleasure, like this should be fun, like, and whatever that is, even if it's like a very dark romance or the psychological thrillers are right, it's like if you're inspired by it, go toward that as much and as with all of your heart. And I know when I have tried to force things and I'm like, oh, I need to write this, or I'm committed to a project, and it's like, oh crap, like I've gotten myself way deep in something that is not lighting me up. I don't even want to go to work. I don't even want to sit at my computer because like this is boring, or this is like, I don't know, not uninspired. And we can feel it as writers. Our readers are going to feel that too. But it is a deep temptation because we are chasing like, oh, we can make more money if we do it this way, or everyone else is having like it's working so good for them, and it's like, well, that's cool for them, but who are you? Like,
Yeah, that's awesome. I was listening to your podcast and you have this you talked about the magic is in me, and I really like that, or the magic is in us, each of us. So can you just sort of talk about that a little bit, like your
sure. I mean, I don't know if I always was able to like embody those ideas. A few years ago, I went to Peru and took ayahuasca. And I know that's a little off topic, but suddenly I was like, oh, I'm free. And I was like, I'm going to hold tight to those, to the feeling I had when I, was in that ceremony, really allowing me to just be like, uh, I have all the answers I need already inside of me. And like the more I'm looking outside of myself for assurance and for a validation, the farther away from myself I become, And so looking for ways with the projects we're choosing and when we're like how fast we're working and what our output looks like and who we're even collaborating with, like that's our energy. Like you guys are a beautiful example of like looking for people who are really aligned to create something. And it's like, wow, there's longevity in that. It's 10 years. I mean, it gives me chills because it is not only women who have the same vision working together. It's also I'll get a little emotional because it's like you're working this gift to a community. And so it's like coming from such a place of like offering. And I just know that so many people can receive from that. It's really beautiful.
Thank you. It makes us feel good. Oh, that's lovely.
It comes through in the project. It comes through. It's so authentic. You're you're showing up in the world and just giving. And
Thank you.
we can do that with our writing. And that is when the magic is felt by the readers or the listeners or just the people we're living life with.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's
I think
nice.
it's a matter of not taking things for granted too, isn't it? Because you can be grateful to yourself as well that you've put in the hard work and that you found something that lights you up.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The other thing around mindset that I wanted to talk about, you mentioned on your podcast I was listening to about how you've got 6 kids that you were raising, but you got up early in the morning and every morning, and the kind of the kids knew that it was sort of a little bit of mum's time on her own, and you to give you that space in the early morning and not come and, like, so you were carving out time for yourself and prioritizing yourself, which is something that women especially often find it quite hard to do, if you've got families and lots of different commitments. Can you just talk about that, like how you came to that decision to do that for yourself and what that meant for you?
Sure. I so wanted to support myself creatively. I was so like, it was a burning within me. That's why self-publishing is just like the biggest gift that I could have ever found in this life, right? As of now, it changed my life. And so I was so passionate and excited about it. So when you're excited about a thing, it's easy to show up for it, right? So I was, okay, I know what the reality of my life is and all these external things that I want to be a good mom. I want to be present. I have these commitments that I'm already, devoting my time to. If I want to make this also a thing, I knew I would need to show up for it. And it wasn't hard to do that because I was so like pumped.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that goes back to like choosing the things that we're actually working on creatively. If you're really excited about them, you're gonna get up before everyone else in the house does, and or you'll stay up late, or not go to this girls' night because you're like, no, my thing is this is my passion, and I'm
Yeah.
prioritizing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, make it, because I think sometimes when we've been writing for a while, it doesn't become a passion, it becomes a job, and that's when, the mind shift changes. So you've almost got to reset it sometimes, don't you? And say, this is what I love, this is me, this is, how lucky am I to be doing something I love?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
also recognizing maybe it's time to pause this thing and just do a passion project and not get so wrapped up in our heads about like, oh, we got to hustle. We got to we
Yeah.
can't lose momentum. We can't lose steam. It's like actually, and that goes to the burnout stuff that is so popular and like so relevant for all of us is when we are just like pushing through instead of listening to ourselves and listening to our environment. It's like, wait, this isn't going to serve me. In the end, I'm going to be more exhausted, more depleted, and kind of resentful that I even have to be doing this amazing job. Like
Yeah.
I was so in a place this winter and really having a hard time and dealing with with depression for the first time in my life. And I thought I'm going to shake it up by going and getting this little part-time job at a coffee shop my friend was opening. And so I did this job for like 4 months, and it was actually amazing. If anyone feels really frustrated with being an independent author, go do a part-time job and you will immediately be reinvigorated for your business. Because I was like, oh wow, I haven't been this like motivated and inspired after
Yeah.
working for someone else,
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
was it about that? What was it? What was it about that part-time job that gave you that? What was the difference?
Yeah, I was reminded like, well, one, I can make a great income through writing. So I would start doing this mental math of like, how many hours am I here? And if I was working on how many words would I need to be writing to make
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
And then I would be like, I thought in my head, I'm like, oh, I'll do the coffee shop in the morning. I'll come home and I'll feel like I can do my second wave of creativity. But then I was like, by the end, I would come home and I've just been talking to customers and making coffee. I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. And like, well, and then I was just reminded of like, what do I really want to be doing with my time? And time is such a precious commodity. Let's like be more grateful for the business I built and not, and it's okay. I think it's good to shake things up sometimes and be reminded of value.
Yeah. And particularly when you suffer from depression, it's actually good that change of
Yes.
scene, like actually having to get out of the house and going, because it's very easy to get stuck.
Yes, I was like, okay, I need a job, something where I'm like a routine, put on clothes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like show up in the world.
Have a shower.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
'Cause
true.
it can be like that a bit, you know, like as authors, we don't have to actually leave the house, don't actually have to get dressed if you don't want to, but sometimes it's good to actually get dressed
Yeah.
in the morning
Mhm.
and have those routines in place. Um, so, okay, I know I'm jumping around a bit, but I just have one more question about, because you mentioned how you're always open to feedback, even on your very first book. You got feedback from someone. It's the first time you'd ever had feedback, and instead of being like, "Oh no, they're crushing my baby darling book," you were very open to it and kind of able to take that feedback. Is that something you've managed to keep throughout the process, and is that something that's important to you? Is it because I feel like the ability to take feedback is really a big mindset piece for a lot of authors, because a lot of them can't, and they feel like they're somehow being attacked when they get that. So I just wanted you to talk about that for a minute.
Sure. I feel like I got advice from a writing partner very early on in my writing, and I was kind of maybe being critical of myself, and even like how had so much to learn in terms of just grammar and punctuation, and like maybe things being overly wordy, and feeling I was like, oh man, I just like have so far to go. And he's like, well, you're not an editor, you're a writer, so just write it and then let an editor help you. And I was like, oh, that's very freeing, because I can let go of what a revisions look like. It's really someone just helping me. And I so appreciate help. Like, I don't want to do it on my own ever. Like, I am very open to collaborating. I've loved collaboration projects as a writer. Brings so much joy to me. And just recognizing like everyone has really good ideas. There's lots of really
Yeah.
good ideas out there. Like I don't think I know all the answers. I love it when people can help me like refine an idea to make it more, I don't know, just more improved. And that's I think it's a missed opportunity if people hold to make their art too precious, because
Yeah.
it's meant to be enjoyed. And so if someone can help it become like a stronger package or like product that is going to be more widely enjoyed. For me, I write for other people, and I get my kind of emotional like pleasure, or like what I'm like catharsis is from that first draft. It's not going to be from the editing anyway. So I can get all my feelings out and all of that on the page. And then I'm like, okay, I kind of processed it. And now an editor or writing group critiques can help it get better. And it's no longer like this precious thing to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
That's
very
awesome.
healthy way of doing it, can I just
Yeah.
say?
That's awesome. Okay, so now we switch back to mindset again. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I just wanted, because I thought I was really fascinated by the way you talked about that. So, with the mindset, so if it's in us and we're already like, how do we, like, if we're convinced no, that's wrong, and I still need to, I've still got this external goal, I need to earn $2,000 a month, or I'm completely ruined. Like, how do you kind of shift into the everything's going to be fine, I know that I can do this? And
Well, with some basic practices, I think it becomes easier. Like, really, like I had this post-it note on my mirror I have had for years that is just some simple affirmations that are meaningful to me. Like, there is no lack, there's more than enough. Words like that, words have power, right? Words are spelling, it's a spell. Our words are spells, and they have a lot of power for us. And I do believe that what we're telling ourselves in our head manifests in our reality. I did this almost like my kids thought I was a little bit loony. I recorded myself a few years ago. I wrote out everything that I wanted for my life, the things that I wanted to have my life embody. And I wrote it down, and I recorded myself speaking it, and I put it on a loop on this app, and I would just like put it on very quietly at night, and it would just play all night.
Wow.
So cool.
And it was like my subconscious was getting like rewired or something. And I don't know, maybe that's too woo-woo for
No,
your
not at all. I
audience,
think
but
that's
I think it's scientific, actually.
Yeah, very
absolutely.
I do
Yeah.
believe I think that there's a lot of power in that. I mean, what we say to ourselves changes the way our world becomes. So just tell yourself a really nice story all night long.
Well,
even
and I
if
mean, when we're talking to ourselves, so often it is critical, it's self-critical, right? So I think that's a wonderful way of counteracting that. Did you kind of come up with the idea yourself, or had you read it in a book or something?
I don't know. I do know that I've read a lot of people talking about like writing out your dreams and like your
I've
vision
heard that
for
one.
yourself. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
So
good
cool.
but
It's
let's just take it
interesting.
one step further.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Hey.
I mean, I did something similar. I had done for that reading out my list of things but I didn't listen to it at night on a low volume.
No, that would
When
be
I was
good.
in the car or whatever. So that's interesting.
I have a list on my wall actually. There's
Do
about
you?
7 things in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
My success is inevitable
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
always working out for me. I think this is
Yeah.
from Becca Syme, actually, these kinds of things. But
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so
So
proud of everything I've done so far, things like that,
Yeah.
Mm.
Because often we're sitting there going, oh, this is so hard. This is so hard. And if you keep saying that, it's never going to get easier, is it?
No.
Yeah.
Or even, like I'm so stupid, or, I've made a mistake, or, it's so easy to fall into those traps.
Or,
Negative self-talk, man.
yeah.
It's just something that's on replay with us, and especially if things in life are getting a little bit stressful,
Yeah.
it just goes boom, boom, boom,
Mm.
boom, It's terrible.
Yeah. Or I don't make money from my books. I've seen that one a lot in different forums and things. And I understand it because I think it's often when you're coming from that position of trying to just frustration, but then you start seeing more proof of that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
and those posts tend to attract other people that are saying, yeah, I don't make any money either. And it's just
Yeah.
like, oh,
Just reinforcing the negative.
Yeah, exactly.
I heard
Exactly.
someone say that worry is praying for what you don't want, and I think that that's very true. So I try to like
oh,
focus on the things that I do want and flipping that script. I feel like there's a lot of power in it. And
yeah,
it's easy to get like, when one person's down, it's easy to kind of like pile on and be like, oh, this is all really hard too. But
yeah,
I don't think in the end everyone just walks away depleted from those conversations. That's why social media can
Yep.
be such a drain on people because it's just like, oh my goodness, we're all like just reminded of the things that aren't. And it's like, oh, there's so many things that are. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly
yeah.
right. We
Mm.
focus
And
on the
living
wrong
in
things.
fear. Yeah, and living in fear, it's like, well, if there's two, real emotions of fear and love, it's like we get a choice in all of this. Like we get a choice in how we're showing up to our work and to our lives and the people in our families. And it's like we can show up without like the fear and the what we're worried about and anxious about and like what isn't working. Instead, and like all the beautiful things, there are amazing things working even when we are in this like I was in this really dark place this winter. It's like I can look around me and be like, wait, this is not the whole story. This isn't the
No.
whole picture at all.
Some good things did happen.
Because I feel like we are always telling ourselves stories.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're saying about the worry. It's like, and we can be telling ourselves good stories about, or we can be telling ourselves bad stories. And sometimes even the bad stories that we tell aren't always even true, and they're just a worry that we have. So yeah,
They spiral too,
yeah,
don't they? They
yeah,
grow. But whereas if you actually stop and like you said, and actually look for the good things around, they're there. You have to just look for them, and that's hard sometimes when you're not in the headspace, But because I think our go-to is the negative, right? It's just the way it is sometimes.
Sometimes we can believe it more easily than the
I
good
think
stuff,
we look
right?
for confirmation of how we're feeling. And having been through severe depression myself, I think one of the best things my psychiatrist at the time told me was it's not you. The depression isn't you. You've got to think of it as outside of you and it's lying to you. And I think that helps because you take it on that it is you and it's your whole thing. Well, this is my experience anyway. I'm not speaking for anybody else, but it really helps to separate it from yourself that it's an illness and it's telling you these lies that you're never going to get better and this is how life always is. So it's and I think particularly writers, I think we're all, I don't want to use the word susceptible, but we're feeling creatures, right? And so a lot of us go through this kind of stuff. Yeah. And we're not saying be Pollyanna and just pretend it's not there. Still get treatment, still do all the things, still look after your health, talk to other people. But just, know that you're not alone if you're feeling like this and you're listening to this thinking, well, that would be lovely. But because believe me, we've all been through shitty circumstances,
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I like your point about it not being a Pollyanna thing. I mean, all of our feelings have to be felt, otherwise we're going to stay in in a dark place or what an anxious place. It's like you have to like allow yourself to feel it all. And that's something
Yeah.
I've really been learning this past year of it's like, okay, everything's not high vibe. It's not like, oh, we're just gonna like everything's gonna be perfect and it's better. It's like, no, there's heavy stuff and that's okay. And we have to kind of process that. And that is where writing, maybe it's not writing a steamy romance. Maybe you need to write something, in your journal and let your emotions flow in another way, because that's, we're using our words as writers to process everything. And sometimes it's easier to package in a book, and maybe it's not always for a book.
Or
Yeah,
do what you
that's so
did and
true.
take time out, time out from actual writing, because it's not a crime. It's not a sin
Or
and
maybe
there's
try a different genre, as well. Because I know that when I got divorced, there's no way I could write romance, like
yeah,
romance.
totally relatable. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another really awesome tactic. So writing it out in a journal. We've got the affirmations you had stuck to your mirror. What other things did you use to help you get out of that space, or kind of to help move through that depression? And
Well, I am a big vision boarder. I don't know, you have your book covers on your walls. They're so beautiful. I love making a vision board. I wish I had some I would have brought with me to show you, but even just having like my girlfriends over and having, people around and creatively making things with my hands to reimagine what I really want. I think I do hear from people that it's sometimes really hard to identify what you actually want and like why you want that. And it's like, what are we really looking for? Even with writing our books, like what is our true, like what is our desire with this? Like what are we trying to get? And even if it's like, well, I want to make this money, it's like, why? What is that about? Is it about freedom? Is it about pleasure? Or like what are we really looking for? And if you could kind of like make a vision board about like what you really want and what you want to feel, it's like embodying that in a more concrete way. And then you can look at it and it's a pretty thing. Probably spend way too much time on Pinterest imagining what I want, but I think it's where we put our focus is kind of like where we're going to end up. So
Do you print them off? Do you have them on your phone? How do you actually utilize them?
sometimes I will do like a lock screen on my phone. That's a good one because then you see it 100,000 times a day. So I like to size them to my lock screen. Right now I'm in my minimalist phone era where I'm trying to take all my apps off, like make it as like most self-control as possible. So I'm sure everyone can relate to that.
I really like the idea that you've got of it not being about I want this, USA Today bestseller, but how it will feel or why I want that. Like imagining the feelings that you will feel when you have that. That's a great kind of twist on what we
because then you also become a lot more like it's not about having, for me, it's not about, achieving all these material items and these things. Like I remember when I was married, things weren't going great and wasn't really sure. And I got really latched onto the idea of like, we need to buy a home on the water. This home on the water is going to make everything better. And like, we've been talking about this. So like, I just became obsessed with buying this house on the water and we get this gorgeous home on the water and everyone was more miserable than ever. It's like the thing was never going to fix anything. And it's true with even just a silly thing in life. If you buy a smaller item like clothing or something, it's not going to fix anything. If you're not happy with the way your body is or your mind is or your friends are, you're doing a girls trip isn't going to fix it. It's just going to make you more mad at each other. So, we ended up selling the house and getting divorced. And it's a big lesson of like, things aren't going to make me happy objects. So it's like, what am I really chasing? What feeling am I really wanting in life? And
you
it
think
allows.
No, you go.
I was just going to say that it's often with authors, it's the when I start making a certain amount of money, I'm going to be successful or happy. I'll feel better when I'm at, and often it's about money, I feel like, or if I've got this award or if I get a publisher, I'll suddenly be happy. And as you say, if you're not happy now, getting that external thing isn't going to be what makes you happy necessarily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good to have hopes and ambitions, but I don't think you can live in the future because that doesn't serve you now, does it? I mean, you can aspire to things in the future and look forward to them, but yeah, pinning everything on getting something in the future is not ideal, I don't think.
Money has so much power too, like because
Mm.
we give it so much power because we need it, like it gives us freedom, it gives us so many things we want. But I think our relationship to money sometimes needs to change as well.
Mm.
Right, because then it can start having power over us.
Yeah.
And then our life is all around more and like, working more. And I just like look back at a different version of me. And I had this sign in my office. It was like this giant board. It was like hustle. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that. Like,
Yeah.
that's so like the opposite of how I want to move in the world now. But it served its purpose for the time and it brought me to this version of Anya, who I love very much.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Let's be kind to ourselves, past selves, because I think we
Yeah.
do the best we can with the knowledge that we have and the intent behind it at the time. So,
Mm.
and also let's face it, the hustle was particularly maybe 5, 10 years ago, it was a big thing, the hustle
Yeah.
culture, I think.
Buzzword, yeah.
Yeah, it was,
And it's especially was for, I think, women who are learning to create their own businesses. You're at home and you're able, the internet is like providing not even just self-publishing, but so many online businesses. And that is super empowering for women to be able to earn money and maybe in a way they never had before. That was true for me. And so I was pretty jazzed about that.
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
like, wow, wait, I can do a thing. This is incredible.
Yeah.
So how long were you writing for as Frankie before you moved to your Anya Mora name?
I think 6 years, 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you keep up that really productive sort of strategy of launching every?
I was doing more about like one 25,000 word story a month or two.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, one or two. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That was really the sweet spot with the Frankie readers. The longer stuff isn't never really hit as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I was able to find a lot of ways to like make it not monotonous. I did a lot of collaborations and a lot of co-writing, which was just very fun to do. So
yeah. So that was a fun period. So at some point you had a few challenges in your life and it became harder perhaps for the mind, or was the mindset stuff that's something that you've got into because of the challenges that you had?
I would say so, yeah. When I exited my marriage over this like the last 3 years, I do feel like I've had a journey of being more in tune with what I want to be creating moving forward. And also there was a season where I wasn't able to write for about a year and it was really challenging. And if self-publishing hadn't been the way I was like already getting royalties and earning my income with audiobooks, I don't know how I would have like survived. I'm so grateful for it because it allowed me to kind of rest, learn how to rest. I don't think I'd ever had that concept before and kind of recover from like such big life change for me. And in that process, I was starting to really think about myself differently and how I wanted to be in the world differently. But and it kind of miraculously, I would say, a publisher reached out to me, had read my thrillers that I had self-published a handful, and they were like, "Oh, we'd love to repackage them." And I was working with Jaffe at the time, and they repackaged some of my psychological thrillers and republished them, which was another like, wow, it's amazing how the work I've done in the past is now a lot still providing for me now. I mean, it's so beautiful. We have like, it's a very good business we are all into because it can support you in unexpected ways. And then even that, it's like those, those self-published titles, those sales had dipped and then out of the blue, it's like, oh, an editor read it and said, I'd like to, republish them. It's like, oh, rejuvenated the income, with those books that I would kind of had said were a little dead. And we can do that all the time with our backlist of like making a new promo, a new cover, and looking for ways to kind of be creative of what we've already made. It's really amazing.
Yeah,
it is so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you're still doing your own covers, just as an aside?
No, I stopped that as soon as I could. I feel like I'm a creative person, but I do not have that. That is an incredible people who are designers.
That's a real important thing, isn't it? Coming to
Yeah.
that understanding that you can't do it all.
Yes.
I think that's massive. I think that's a stage for me that as soon as I realized that, then I moved forward with my career a little bit more because I understood my strengths and my weaknesses.
Yeah.
Was that hard to like start asking people to help?
Uh yeah, it was. I like to be in control of what I'm doing, but at the same time, I was pretty hopeless at certain things. And once I got that, but I also think it helps that having people I trust working for me helps
Yeah.
massively. People I know well,
So
that makes a
Wendy's
difference.
daughter, it works for her. So
And before her, I had Shah. So it was people that I have had, in my corner who were working for the best for me.
Yeah.
And that made a massive difference.
Yeah.
It still does. My daughter knows me better than anyone and tells me off, and I
She
take
keeps you
it.
in line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she tells me off, and I can understand where she's coming from, and I allow it. Yeah.
I think so just in that year of when you couldn't write, how did you get through that kind of creatively? Like what brought you back into a place where you could create again?
Well, I signed with Book Couture for 3 books. It's a publisher out of the UK for 3 thrillers. And so being on a deadline, I suppose,
Yep.
was an external force that I'm like, okay, well, I
Yeah.
can't mess up too bad here because I've,
Yeah.
kind of on the line with this. So that has been, I would say, unexpected blessing, that allowed me to be like, okay, at least right now, like I put out 3 books that's the next year without having to overthink it too much. It's like, so that was a huge gift. And then I started working on the podcast, just trying to think of ways I want to use my voice moving forward. And I'm still not 100% sure of what I want to be writing next. And part of me is like, I almost feel full circle of going back to the writer when I first started, and I wrote these nonfiction children's books. And not that I want to write children's books, but if there's maybe a project in me where I could focus on more of my ideas or my philosophy or the way I'm approaching the world, maybe I can kind of return to the writer I was at the beginning in a different way. That's now with all this a decade and more of knowledge,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it would turn out
Are you
differently.
talking
So
fiction or non-fiction?
I think maybe nonfiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And trying to some different projects. But still I have another book out with Book Couture in January. So I still have that, some things on the line there. And I just have been like going, I don't know if you ever think about this, but I was thinking about the child me a lot lately, about me when I was really young, like 8 and 9 years old, and like what I really loved, and thinking about how, that version of me was so free and uh, unrestrained, and there was no pressure from outside forces. And I did have a nice childhood. I know that's not everyone's childhood experiences, but there's parts of our childhood that's like, oh, that's really this very sweet and tender part of us that doesn't necessarily show up now as we're, I'm 43, and the older we get, the more life kind of molds us. And I've been thinking about it a lot. And I was always like really obsessed with like the Oregon Trail. I don't know if you know what that is in New Zealand, but
Yeah.
like covered wagons and pioneers, and I had these prairie
Hey,
dresses, and I
listen,
was
we
like,
grew up with Little House on the Prairie, so
I love that. And so I was like, oh, maybe there is I was thinking about that a lot lately and thinking, well, I don't know if I'm in a place where I can go buy a log cabin today, but maybe I can write some more mountain men that are, kind of channeling the covered wagon vibes. And so it's just like kind of looking for new ways to be inspired, and thinking about the parts of ourselves that feel really true, and that could maybe get me in a writing groove easier than like trying to just look at the best sellers in the subgenre and say like, oh, well, this is what's really hot right now. That's not going to work. As I'm trying to like kind of reevaluate and get in a groove, it's like, okay, let's go back to some of the truest parts of me. So
yeah.
I don't know
Wouldn't
what
that
you
be
guys
cool
really
if your mountain men got you into a cabin? Wouldn't that be great?
I love
That's
that.
what I think.
Yeah.
That would
Why
be
not?
fun.
Yeah.
So you're still kind of working your Frankie catalogue, as it were, like,
Yeah.
That's
And
good.
thankfully, I have an agent. I work with Sarah Hirschman, and she really helps me with my audio for that. And that gives me lots of good royalties. And I decided we were talking about kind of outsourcing. And that was one thing I knew right away, like this isn't, it's too many kind of pots on the stove. I don't know the right word. Too many things to be managing. And I immediately was like, I'm not going to do anything with audio on my own. I'm going to outsource that. And even though I know I have left a lot of money on the table, it's been worth it because it's just one thing I knew I didn't have capacity for. And I'm so like, it's amazing authors who some of them can narrate their own books or, produce things like that. Like that's super cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
A lot of work.
Yeah, I can't imagine our Kiwi accent would go down well, to be honest.
Translate to a book in Oregon, would it?
Yeah.
No,
What
no.
about translations? Have you ever done translations?
Yeah, I've done some translations with my thrillers. That's done with the publisher, but with the Frankie books, I've done some on my own in German. I did that. I tried that out, and I tried some in a few in Italian, but it's just never been a thing that I've gone full force into. It's just we only have so many, I don't know, so much time. And I'm really precious with my time. I really have learned to value that a lot more than maybe I used to.
That's important, isn't it? Not burning out and taking time for you, and that's a real thing, I think, for all of us. Is for me, is I've got to do this many words, and I have to sit in my chair until it's done, and I've always been that way. But I don't know sometimes if that's healthy, because sometimes you just don't want to write that many words.
So what does that actually look like for you, Anya? Like in that respect, do you have a schedule that you're quite strict with, or how does that work for you?
Well, I wish I had a prettier answer for that. I know I used to when I used to have all my kids at home. I only have my youngest he's 15. Everyone else is grown, and so he's the only one in the house. And I have him every other week. So my life schedule like really shifted. I'm still trying to figure out, man, now I have so much time. It's almost better when you don't. For me, it's like when your time's more limited, suddenly you're taking more advantage of it and like being a little bit more thoughtful. So that's something maybe someone can send me a link to a course on how to return to some discipline, because that's something I need to really channel. I'm like looking to channel this new season of life.
That is a trick though, isn't it? When people think they're going to go full time as an author, right? And you just have to learn, don't you? You have to learn those skills, because it is.
I know with actual keyboard writing a book time, I'm like 4 hours a day is my max. Obviously you can push through if you're like in some crazy, you've got yourself in a jam, but I could spend more time on admin aspects, but my brain, it's like, okay, after 4 hours, and if that's 4 hours and it's 1,000 words or 4,000 words, it's just, I'm done. But I don't know if you guys have that experience where you kind of like,
sure.
Definitely.
And because often after that time period, you're actually just writing rubbish anyway.
Yeah.
You go back to it the next day and what was I thinking, And
it depends what else is happening in your life. Some days you're just busier in life than others. And sometimes you just don't feel like it.
And you have to acknowledge that, right? And not push through.
Yeah. So true.
I think the more that we push anything is the results aren't as great. So it's like not forcing things, like anything if you're not talking about work, but just other parts of life, you would be like, oh, don't force it. But then with work, it's like, oh, just push through. It's like,
yeah, that's it.
And it's usually the external influences. I always find the outside influences are the ones that aren't they that, you can't shut them out sometimes. And they're the ones that sort of, I don't know, for me, they determine how my writing's going and stuff like that.
You mean like with news and stuff like that? Other world. Oh, I was
what's going in your family, not even what's going on around the world.
Definitely that.
But it's quite tough mentally when things are going bad and you've got a deadline and you've got to sit down and nail those words. It's not like going into a coffee shop, like you say, and you can shut off and go, oh, well, I'll make you a coffee and there's your 50-cent change or whatever.
Yeah.
You're creating, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's quite hard.
Yeah, it's really tough.
So do you have any suggestions, Anya, for how you've dealt with that? Like anything for that
putting
kind
out
of like,
the
what do you do when there's an external challenge coming at you and you still kind of need to keep going? Would you just keep going or try and give yourself some space or?
I when I was really in the wheelhouse of Frankie books coming out really frequently, I I did give myself a really beautiful gift of writing quite a bit ahead. So that was been always a strategy of mine is writing. So I would have like if it would be like 2 months or 3 months of stockpiled product like books, like if it's like 4 or 8 books ready, because I with 6 kids, it was the reality was there's always going to be a thing that's kind of turning my timeline upside down and
Mhm.
not and knowing that like working from a place of stress isn't going to serve me or anybody. So I
Mm.
do think stockpiling books is a real good asset if you're able to get yourself in that position. I know it's like a lot of forward thinking to do that, but writing up until like I would just know that hearing from people's experience of like writing to deadline and then also like, oh, the book has to come out next week. And it's like, oh my goodness, like
Yeah.
um, what if we paused and said, give ourselves a month where maybe nothing is coming out, or 3 months, and getting ourselves to back on a different cycle because it's not sustainable to live in a
Mm.
place of constant stress. Like
Mm.
something's gonna give. And
Mm.
hopefully it's not like us, but and
Mm.
you don't want anything to give really. So
No.
No,
Yeah.
no.
do you guys write ahead ever? Or?
Oh, love to write ahead. To
Yeah.
be
I
honest.
try to, but I'm only
Yeah.
writing shorty, so it's a little easier. But
Sometimes, yeah.
I think you're right. Something does give, and very often it is the author themselves that has a, life will deliver the stop button in some way, and often it's not in a good way. So
I feel like that stress, living in that high stress environment, there's a lot of
some
kind
people
of
do get energized, though. We've had a couple of authors on that absolutely thrive in that situation. Like to me,
Mhm.
they're just, I don't know, maybe they're like I'm thinking
outliers.
I've been watching F1. Maybe they're like F1 drivers. They can just go around that track so fast. They can process everything so fast that that's their sort of sweet spot. The rest of us humans, I'm not so sure.
Someone like Sasha Black, who is #1 competition on the Clifton Strengths, who gets energy from the competitive idea of, and I don't think she competes against other people. She competes against herself, often trying to get more out or a different thing out or whatever. Someone like that might get excited about that. But I was going to say that the stress behind that stress is fear, and I think if you're acting from fear, that's going to be not a long-term strategy that you want to have. If you can find a way to act from everyone's frozen, so that's not good.
Which has got beautiful
Oh,
author
she's
arms
back
around. There
again.
she
Okay,
is.
hello.
We'll
Yeah, we're
sort
going to
that
have to
out.
cut that out because
But
Yeah,
I
yeah, that's
blame
all
your
right.
internet in the
I
country,
know
Trudy. I'm
it's the
just
Yeah.
internet.
What were you talking about anyway? I blanked out there for a minute.
Sasha Black.
I was just saying. So Sasha Black, she is competition #1 competition on Clifton Strengths, and she competes against herself, but that's how she motivates herself, and that's where she gets energy, and that's but often I think if you're dealing from stress and you've given yourself these really tight deadlines and you're trying to, as you say, like right to the last minute to get things done just in time, there's not just the stress, but there's a fear behind that. There's and you're reacting or living on fear as your kind of your base emotion, and I just don't think you can do that for a long-term thing, like, and it's fear of not making it or fear of not getting what you want out of it or fear, all those kinds of fears. Whereas if you can actually be operating from a sense of kind of I am enough, or some of the stuff that Anya was talking to us about earlier, like the good feelings and the like, how do you want to feel about this stuff, you could still make the deadline, but just in a different way. I don't know. Have you got any thoughts on that, Anya? Is that kind of something that you
I would think that everything you're saying I love. It's really interesting. And I think, yeah, maybe we can all like look at someone and say, oh man, that'd be amazing if we could just like run on adrenaline but it's like, okay, what is our reality? And lean into those strengths. I mean, I I just don't want to be a stressed out person. Like I so don't
Yeah.
want to like that to be my story. And like when I show up in the world, I don't want to be a person who's always saying like, oh, I'm so stressed, or like, oh, I'm just like this isn't working.
Yeah, yeah.
I just I I only have so much things I can control in life, and really it's how I'm showing up. So that's what I get to pick, and I can't really pick how anyone else or how an Amazon algorithm is going to treat me or how readers are going to receive a product. All I can do is like, what can I control? And it's just me. So that's actually pretty empowering because that's like, it's us. We have control over how we're going to show up in the world, and we can then make strategies based on that. Like, my therapist said this thing to me, I love, it says, make your decisions based on your values, not how you feel. Not to contradict that, I do think you should think about your feelings, but if your feeling is like really heavy things, anxious and worry, it's like, well, don't make your decisions based on that. Like, what do you value here? Like, your value is that you want to show up and write beautiful stories for your readers. Like, that's what you value. Then let's like show up, like focus on that, like show up for that, not show up for like the fear, like you're saying, that those base emotions that are really not going to serve the reader, not going to serve you. It's not going to pay your mortgage. So.
Yeah, I like that.
All
That's
makes
awesome.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of people think that they can't control their emotions or can't control how they feel or are reacting. They're very reactionary. And so when someone tells them, oh, we have control, you can control how you feel, that feels quite confronting. And I know that used to be me. Like, that's why I'm saying that. So how do you sort of change that? Or did you feel like you had to change that around? Like, were you that kind of reactionary person, or have you always known?
I think I've always been I would say, a deeply feeling person. It's like I have this pillow on our couch. It's like an emotion wheel, and I'll be like, someone is kind of, I don't know, acting a little, I don't know, like a teenager or something in the house, or just moody. It's like, actually, how do you feel about this? Like, where are you at? Like, and why are we feeling this way? And I always remember my kids, I'd always say things like, use your words, like, what does your heart say? And that's just kind of how I approach the world. So I think maybe that's easier, when you come from a place, but I would say, I've learned that not everyone operates that way. So it can be a difficult thing if someone is coming from the opposite, and really learning to understand other people because, we're all showing up very differently. So someone who's like heavy emotional and sensitive person, it's going to be a lot of friction with, people who have other, really great strengths that are opposing that.
Yeah,
it's true.
But as a writer, I think we're all probably pretty feeling people, pretty sensitive people. We're putting our art on the page one way or another, even if it's, zombies and dragon shifters, we're still putting parts of ourselves in the characters. So be very deeply in touch with our emotions. So
how do you
Which can be a real double-edged sword. It can work for us and against us very easily in the same day.
Yeah, totally.
So if you are having, for example, a negative emotion, what are some of the techniques you use to turn that around
yeah, that's a cool question. I know one thing that I started doing was the next best feeling thing. And so just like doing the next thing that feels good, like not even having a limitation on it. If it doesn't feel good to like unload the dishwasher, like don't unload the dishwasher, even if it's like, I should be doing this. It's like, no, go do the thing that makes you feel good. And maybe that's a nap. Maybe it's going on a walk. Maybe it's scrolling on your phone, but like, let yourself feel that, whatever the feeling that feels a little bit better than this one that was just a little bit worse, like if you're feeling anxious, it's like, okay, what feels a little bit better than this? And maybe it is just taking a shower. And then it's like, okay, what feels better? And kind of allowing that to be your stepping or your stair step to feeling okay,
Yeah. Makes sense.
And not putting pressure on it of like, I think we get like in this to-do list, and I definitely have in my life, where you kind of like, when you're in that mentality of like, I have to do all these things, and it's like, well, now we're just worn out and no one's having fun. So what are we doing this for?
You need to stop,
and the dishes will get washed. Like eventually you're going to feel like, it'll feel really good is to have the kitchen clean, and you'll go clean the kitchen, and that could have been 3 days later, and maybe that's just fine. Like
cut yourself.
Do that,
for example.
Cut yourself a break now and again, really.
There's a lot of shoulds, right? Like that we should be doing this and I should be doing that. And even if it's not, if it's work related, like as a writer, oh, I should be doing TikTok, or I should be doing these kinds of ads, or I should do this other thing. And we kind of get
Constant.
overwhelmed and then do nothing. And I
Yeah.
like the idea of using that in a work environment too. It's like, what's
Sure.
the next thing that will make me feel good? And then just kind of working
And
your
maybe
way
it's
back
like,
into
yeah,
it.
when you operate that way with work, it's like, oh, maybe you're really just that day you're like pumped about chatting on Facebook and connecting with readers that way. And then the next day it's like, okay, I got all my like chatty social stuff out and I'm like, man, I can pour myself in the story now. So it's
Yeah.
like really being okay with a little bit more fluidity, even though we could say that these are our work hours or have some structure, but being all right with things kind of changing and
And I think too, pivoting because if your day is full, you can't possibly fit something else in. But maybe what you could do is you could give up something else to try a new thing,
Yeah.
or
I
block
love
out
that.
some time for that thing and let something else slide. It's all a choice. And
It is a
and it
choice.
is about what makes you happy. And if
Yeah.
doing something, like Facebook has, makes you batty, then don't do them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're really
'Cause
a lucky person if that just fills your cup.
Yeah.
I so wish I was you.
No,
And
not
that
me.
was
No.
yeah.
That's
That's
awesome.
brilliant.
So we're coming up to the end of the interview now, Anya, but I just wanted to see if there was any one little nugget that you want to leave our listeners with, like something that you wish you'd known earlier or something that you think that will help them on their way.
I would just love to say, like, trust your instincts. You'll never be steered the wrong direction if you're like listening to your heart and listening to what lights you up in this world and go toward that when you're creating a project. And your readers will love it all the more because your heart's a part of it. So
That's
Mm.
awesome. I love
That's
it.
awesome.
Like that.
That's a
Yeah.
perfect way to end. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Anya. You've been a
thank
delight.
you. It's so much fun.
So
Yeah.
awesome.
We've enjoyed it a lot. So can see by how much everyone was engaging with you that you've
It
connected
was
to
very
everyone.
cool.
So that's really great. So if someone wants to connect with you or find out more about you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Anyamora.com has all of my kind of socials and places you can click all the links to my Frankie books or my Anya books, and it's a great
Awesome.
place to go.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Shah, where can we be
Cool.
found?
So we can be found at spargirlspodcast.com and we're on Patreon at Spargirls Podcast. And if you'd like to come and join our author group, that would be amazing.
Fantastic. And thank you again, Anya, and thank you again to all of our listeners to the podcast. We really appreciate you coming with us on this journey and spending time with us here talking to Anya. We'll be back again next week with another episode, but for now, farewell.
Keep well.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.